Good morning, Natrona County and Casper area residents. I'm Judy Jones, and I don't always do a video, but I think what we've got coming up is going to be pretty important with both the election for our president and for our elected officials on the county and city levels. For over 6 years, I've been involved in the property rights in Natrona County and paid attention to what's going on the local level too inside the city. I think I've already, excuse me, I think I've already proven how much I care about our state and our local economy and our local property rights for us citizens. What I did was a few weeks ago I had attended the Natrona County Development Department's land use plan that they had paid, I don't know, KLJ $67,000 to do. And I raised quite a ruckus, and it was because of the new land use plan has some little intricacies in there that I think everybody should know about and be aware of. Natrona County Planning Department's going to be hearing well, actually, they're going to do a work session on May 9th and then May 16th and May 23rd. From what I understand, there won't be any public comment. These are strictly work sessions for these guys. The first one on May 9th, they'll be doing reviews of Chapter 1 through 4. You can find this online at Natrona County, www.natronacounty / or actually it's just a thing, or what do you call it, like this, and then wyoming.gov, or you can just go to Natrona County and wade through it a little bit. But anything you have to say against that Chapter 1 through 4 will be heard, will be put in the file, and that's what the attempt is for me, is to make sure that we've got stuff in the file on this, so that when people come down the road and want to know what happened to their property rights, they can find out that that was just that was their opportunity to do their public input. Like I said, May 9th, it'll be 5:30 p.m. in the old courtroom, in the old courthouse, and then May 16th, it'll be 5:30 p.m. This is planning and zoning, and they'll be working on chapters 5 on the 16th. The first one, May 9th, they'll be working on chapters 1 through 4. And then May 23rd, they'll review chapters 6 and 7. So it's imperative that if you're interested in how they plan to do your land use plan for the next, I don't know, 30 years, it looks like, they need to have your written or email sent to them by May 4th. On any of these chapters. I would suggest that if you can, download them, and then you don't have to print them out. Just print out what most catches your eye. That's pretty much how I do it. And then make your argument for it, or against it, or whatever. But anyway, that's the plan there. Okay, moving on. I came across, in that packet you'll find, you know, a lot of stuff. You'll find a whole map of Natrona County and their growth area. And like mine, I'm neighborhood 13, so I'm out on 8 Mile and Zero Road. So this is their plan for us. Growth boundary goes about a mile past my property, or actually out to probably Don Pavick's property out on 10 or 12 Mile. Those are what they call growth areas, and that's where the most restriction is going to be happening right now, is because they don't want you to build outside those growth areas, because they don't want to spend the money that it takes to bring you gravel roads, street lights, or scraping of your roads, or paved roads, or hell, even signs for that matter. They don't want to spend the money on sewer and water and all of that. You know, my only question to that is, you know, we pay taxes too. You don't hear us complaining that we don't have street lights on our roads. admit it, Mike does a pretty good job on 8 Mile to keep my road pretty cleaned up. I mean, sometimes it's like a washboard for weeks, but you know, if I could just give them a call, they'll come out and take care of it. Okay, getting back to the land use plan. This was created by KLJ, and they're an outfit that does this all over the country. We paid them $67,000. Of course, we gave CATA $97,000 to do a land use plan as well. I'd be interested to know what that $97,000 paid for myself. They've got it estimated that we're going to be 111,000 people in Natrona County by 2040. I just don't see that going to be happening, not with the oil boom and bust, and frankly, we just, you know, we're losing people quicker than we can hold them right now. And anyway, so I suggested to them at the last meeting that they needed to go back and revamp that 40 years out. Unless they got a crystal ball or a mouse in their pocket, how can they ever predict what's going to happen in Natrona County or Casper for that matter? In fact, our unemployment rate now is at 7.2%. I mean, that's one of the highest unemployment rates across the United States. We're losing people crazy because that's what we are, is oil and gas and coal. And without all of that, what do we really have to fall back on? I mean, tourism's going to eat a little bit of it, but it's not going to feed our families, and it's not going to let us buy new trucks. And you know, whatever happened to the middle class? And that seems to be the big deal here, is that our administration that's in charge right now is out to destroy the middle class. You know, when Wyoming went non-union and right-to-work state, I think it was, what, 1963. If I remember what I read on that and talked to the old guys around town, it was 1963. That was supposed to help the boom and bust cycle too. Well, all that did was kill the unions and destroy the middle class. Okay, anyway, they're using established projection methodologies. Okay, they're using projected. Okay, that means guesswork. It's just like the 98 land use plan. They were predicted that we were going to go to 240,000 before 2014, I think, or 2013, something like that. And that never happened. I mean, we barely broke 60,000 before we took off, and then in 2008 we lost quite a few people, and the housing bubble happened. And you know, that's one of the things I have the biggest problems with, is these projection outfits. I mean, they make good money to go around and sell these happy dreams and candy, you know, Candyland philosophies about what your town's going to do, and they're not even from here. Okay, let's move on. They've got a mission statement here. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, okay. Planning concerns. Below are the top issues. You'll find this on page 2-4, chapter 2, final draft updated 1/28/16. And they've got a little list here. If you'll open up your booklet to it, it says below are the top issues, paraphrased, that need to be addressed in the planning process in no particular order. These are not goals, but issues needing solutions. Okay, fair enforcement of land use plan implementation measures, particularly zoning. Now, what does that exactly mean, fair enforcement? Well, fair enforcement is when you get tickets for a couple of cars in your yard, or your grass is too high, or anything like that. I mean, the list goes on. Look at their planning and zoning book one time under what a nuisance is. I mean, just about anything you do on your rural property is a nuisance anymore. That particularly concerns me because I didn't move to the county to be harassed or bugged about my grass, or you know, or my neighbors complaining that they moved in next door. You know, and the reason I'm going to say this is because at that ag building meeting for the land use development, there was a couple there, And it struck me as odd because the room was broke up into two little sections. I mean, it was no bigger than if you rented a room at the library, and there was probably, oh, I don't know, maybe a dozen landowners. But everybody else that was there was part of the system. They were either KLJ guys, planning and zoning guys, county commissioner guys, developers, or yeah, that's pretty much how it was broke up. And then landowners were on one side, and then you could tell it was who was for the program on one side and who was there to find out what the hell is going on. Okay, well, there was this lady and her husband there, and I noticed them right off when I walked in the door. They were sitting on the commissioner side and the planning and zoning side and the KLJ side, and they must live out by Karst Pipe Yard out there. What is that, 10 or 12 mile? Anyway, they were there, and they were trying to kind of complain that they lived next door to a pipe yard and they didn't like it. Well, I got news for you. I'm grandfathered on my property, and so was he. There's nothing you can do about it. When you moved in there, you knew what was there, so shut up and sit down. You got no dog in this fight, and trying to run some old man off his property that's been there since 1952, that's bullshit. And I would love to tell that to your face, so I'm going to do it this way. If you don't like it, move. You knew it was there. You saw it when you bought your property. Deal with it. Okay, then they've got, for the next one, this is a cool word. It's called growth management. When you pay attention to what growth management actually means, it means controlling your growth. Okay, that means more restrictions on rural landowners. It means more restrictions on building, putting in infrastructure for yourself. It's a control mechanism. That's what that's about. They don't want to spend the money that you're paying in good tax dollars to give you the services that you're paying for, simply put. Okay, next one. Reduce urban and rural property deterioration. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean suddenly they're going to be saying, well, we don't like those lilac bushes over there, so you're going to have to cut them out? We don't like your cars on your property, so you're going to have to get rid of them. That's exactly what it is. We don't like what you're using your property for. So your property is no longer your property. Your property becomes community property. What they see fit for your use. They like to call it best practice. Best use practice is the word they'll use. And that's what that's about. More code enforcement, more restrictive services, more restrictive uses on your property. You know, with these economic times going on like they are, you know, some of us are going to have to figure out, you know, when our kids lose their jobs, do we want them to leave? Or do we want to maybe cut off 5 acres or 10 acres and let them put a double wide back there and a septic system and all of that so that they don't have to leave? And then when, you know, say I die, they can take over the whole land. That's going to become even harder with this new plan to do, because they've got it put in there where you can only have one house per X number of acres. This is something to be really, really concerned with, because why did you buy that large piece of property if you can't, you know, let your kid move on to a section of it, or develop it yourself, you know, and maybe put a couple of little houses on different 5-acre lots. Well, that's all different too, because then it's called a subdivision. And minor subdivisions and major subdivisions have different requirements. But even a minor subdivision, if you're within a mile of the city, you'll have to work with not only one agency, but two. You'll have to work with Natrona County's planning and zoning, and then you have to work with the cities. And what do you think your chances are? You going to have the money to do that? No, only developers have that. And I believe it was Rob Hendry himself who said, developers decide where the roads go. I mean, what kind of crap is that? You know, developers deciding where roads go. I feel sorry for the folks out there on 6 Mile. You know, they're going to be taking that road all the way through to that belt loop road, because the plan originally was that was to derail trucks from going down CY Avenue and get them moving on their ways. Well, now they've got that all sold off and broke up, that we're going to end up with a 7-Eleven out there, and a motel, and a gas station, and Pizza Huts, and all that ag land that was supposed to be protected is not protected anymore. It's been sold to the highest bidders, and I think we all know who those are. Okay, next one. Exercise Natrona County's responsibility to participate in federal land issues as a cooperating agency or consulting party when applicable. Okay, now this goes down to what they're talking about with this American Lands Council. Okay, they want they want state of Wyoming reverted back to the state. You know, public lands back to the state. Our county commissioners really, really want this. You know, what's going to keep them boys from selling it off to the highest bidder? Not a damn thing. Okay, now do you really trust your local officials to manage land? I mean, I can remember Governor Meade saying himself he wanted to be one of the largest landowners in Wyoming. If that doesn't scare the shit out of you, nothing does. Alright, next one. Oh, I love this one. Sustainable development. A mixture of existing and new uses to improve the economy and tax base. Okay, well that worked out real well for those folks out on Salt Creek Highway, didn't it? I mean, the 98 land use plan had that broke off into industrial. Well, we all know it sat on the shelf for 25 years. And people went out there and built homes, and then there was a lot of ranches that were out there, you know, that have water wells, and they've been there for generations. Now they have a business park in their backyard. Not an 18-acre business park like it was presented the first time, but a 48-acre business park. Okay, so what did that do to those property owners' values? It put them in the toilet. Nobody wants to live with a factory next door or a trucking business next door. I mean, if you choose it, that's one thing, and if it's there when you buy, that's another thing. But to have it slammed in on you, regardless of how many people had spoken against it, it was like 52 people. And it was an atrocity. It was a violation of even their own zoning regulations to even rehear that after it was denied in planning and zoning. So what's going to make them stick by this new plan any more than they stuck by the last plan? Nothing. This is just to squeeze the noose around your neck a little bit tighter. In fact, there was a fella that was in there who was trying to build several buildings for a company, and he was told by planning and zoning, one of the gals there, I think her name was Chris, told him that he had to do a knockbox and he had to do this, and then they kept him on the line for 4 weeks, wouldn't inspect. You know how much money he lost? They don't care. I mean, they were making rules up as they go along. So what's going to make them follow these rules? Nothing. Okay, next one. Preserve and make use of tremendous open space resources of the county. What does that mean? There's no explanation. I've been all through this book. Has anybody even asked him what that means? Control and make use of tremendous open space? What does that mean? I'd like to know. I think we'll take a break for this video and come back for the next one. Thank you. Pay attention, folks. These guys are trying to swindle you out of your land use rights.